Hello and welcome to this Gauntlet Hangout run of We Were W.A.S.P. This is a game from the Warbirds anthology, which is a collection of games about women that played a role in wars and trying to make games that are about telling their stories. And this game specifically is about the W.A.S.P. We'll get into what that is, but basically it's female pilots, female American pilots that were not soldiers, but also not civilians. We'll get into the historical context of it, but during the Second World War, so served during the Second World War. This game will take approximately 4 hours. It's a game that was written for Festival, which is a Danish con that has almost developed his own genres. This will be a little different from what you're used to playing on the Gauntlet, for sure. It consists of 3 acts, and we also have some workshops actually before we start, some exercises and stuff to get into things. The first thing I will do is to introduce the historical context of the game. And the game does not require any historical knowledge. I will give you the information that you need, and the most important thing is to try to stay true to there's some principles, but you don't need to remember details or anything. It's about trying to understand how it must have been for those women who were in this position back then. So the W.A.S.P. Corps. 2 of the 1940s most prominent pilots, Nancy Love Harkness and Jacqueline Cochran, formed the W.A.S.P. Corps in 1943. The Corps' aim was to train female pilots to fly domestic military missions, thereby freeing up male pilots for combat duty. To enter the W.A.S.P., a woman had already to hold a certificate for non-military vessel. 25,000 pilots applied to be a part of the course, but only 1,900 were accepted, and 1,047 graduated. The accepted pilots received 4 months of military training, equal to what male pilots received. After finishing their training, pilots received a set of silver wings symbolizing the membership in the W.A.S.P. Corps. The military stationed the trained pilots on air bases across the US. From here, they carried out non-combat military duties, such as test flights, transport of cargo, aircraft, and personnel. They also flew target practice for anti-aircraft crews. W.A.S.P. was not a military organization, but also not a civilian organization. The women who served in the W.A.S.P. did so on a voluntary basis. They received only a little compensation and none of the military benefits that the male soldiers were eligible to receive. There was no compensation for injuries suffered during active service, and if they died in an accident, the military did not pay to have the remains shipped home. At the time of formation, the women paid their own travel costs to the training base, and they paid their own transportation home when the army disbanded the corps. In 1977, the W.A.S.P. archive was opened, and the corps members given veteran status with eligibility for benefits. In 2010, President Obama awarded them the Congressional Gold Medal. The characters live in a time with very clear restriction on how women could act. It was a time with clearly defined gender roles. Women serving in the military was unheard of. Both historical W.A.S.Ps and the character in the game were middle or upper class women who could afford flying certificates. Society expected them to marry and become housewives or work in appropriate female professions. The only reason the army allowed a female aviation corps to form was the needs of the war effort. Even then, however, far from everyone agreed with the decision to establish the W.A.S.P., and society as a whole viewed the female pilots as odd and outlandish. This is the context of the game. It's not possible for the W.A.S.P to think beyond their societal view of women, and the players cannot impose their own views of gender on the characters. The character have to navigate the military world to the best of their ability, and the players have to feel the powerlessness when others treat their characters unjustly. The focal point of the game is the tension between the character's dreams of flying and the world that thinks that women should be dreaming of children and housework. So yeah, it's a historical context that is, when you read it, pretty brutal. Is there any questions about that? Okay. So yes, there is some rules as well. I put them also in the character keeper. So there's pretty much like the three guiding principles you need to be thinking of playing your characters is that the characters do not rebel openly against authorities or against common gender norms. And the only possible revolt is flying. They can think the world treats them unfairly, and they can complain to supporting characters, but they cannot openly rebel. They cannot, for example, go on strike or give up flying and go home. The W.A.S.P have to fulfill the W.A.S.P training program, and it's important the players stay true to the gender conventions of the game's period. It's a central premise, and it's aimed at conveying the feeling of powerlessness essential to the game. The second principle is that the character evolve, that they somehow during the game they change. They should not be the same person when they end their service in the W.A.S.P as when they started. I will help you and encourage that kind of change, but also it's your responsibility that to drive the change in your characters. And also, this is last principle. It will become clear when you start a game that why this is have to be a principle in the game. But when you read your characters, but the characters have to become friends. They have to give themselves up to the community and become friends with each other during the second part of the game. If the scene provided in the catalog are not enough for this to happen, the players should set scenes to do so. So we will talk about that when we got to the second act, but pretty much maybe during play it naturally turns out that some characters come to a reconciliation of sorts. But if not, we can set scenes to make that happen. And I have some suggestions for that, but you can also just, if you have an idea, go with it. Yeah, so there's different ways of doing it, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is the big information blob part of the game. Do you have any questions to anything that I've said? Cool. So we will start with some workshopping, and I think so. How we do this best? This first one is a little bit weird to do on the internet, but pretty much it's a informal game. So everyone, including the directors, will also will stand in a circle and greet each other in 4 rounds, like strangers meeting, like old friends, like best friends, and like family. So I think the best way to do this is to go like a round with each. So you just like greet one other person, and we'll pretend. I know we're on the internet. It's maybe going to be a little bit weird, but that's how it goes with the online play. So I'll start with greeting Tina, like strangers, like a stranger. Hey, okay. My name is Mikael. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Tina. Nice to meet you too.
And you can greet Pavel.
Hi, I'm Tina. What's your name?
Oh, hi. I'm Pavel. Nice to meet you.
Ah, nice to meet you too.
And you can, Pavel, you can greet Noella.
Oh, hey. I'm Pavel, and you?
I'm Noella. Nice to meet you.
And Noella, you can greet Horst.
Hi, my name is Noella. What's your name?
My name is Horst. Nice to meet you, Noella.
Nice to meet you too.
And then you can greet me, Horst.
Hi, my name is Horst. What's your name?
It's Mikael. Nice to meet you. And we'll go around doing it like old friends, like we almost are, I guess, somehow, maybe. I'm starting again with Tina. Hey, Tina, nice to see you again. How are you doing?
Hey, Mikael. I'm fine. What you up to right now?
Playing role-playing games.
Cool.
You can greet Pavel.
Hey, Pavel. Long time no see.
Oh, hey Tina. Yeah, I was like really busy. I'm sorry, I dropped out of touch. How are you doing these days?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Just a little hot, but I guess that's everywhere.
And Pavel, you can greet Noella.
Oh, hey Noella. Haven't seen you for a while. Sorry, I was out of town. How are you doing these days?
I've been fine, you know, just working and studying. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm great. Just finished just having the holidays at home.
And then Noella, you can greet Horst.
Well, hi, Horst. It's been a long time. What have you been up to?
Noella, so good to see you again. I am great. How are you?
I've been good.
And then you can greet me, Horst.
Hey, Mikael. How's it going?
Oh, good. I've been enjoying the nice weather. And you?
Well, it's not that hot here, fortunately.
Yeah, not here anymore either. So, and then I think we'll turn around and do the other direction. And do greetings like best friends. And okay, so hey Horst, what's up?
I have to tell you something. Not that great, to be honest.
Yeah, what? Oh man, that's you wanna talk about it or you just wanna hang?
Maybe later, Mikael. I know that you have an open ear if I have problems, but
Yeah, sure, cool. And then you can greet Noella.
hey, Noella. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, how are you doing? What's up?
Everything's perfect. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just, you know, working and trying to, you know, get things going.
Cool. Noella, then you can greet Pavel.
Hey, Pavel, what's up? How's your job going?
Oh, hi Noella. Yeah, it's going fine. Just had a small fight with the boss, but yeah, in general, it's good. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, just, you know, still looking for a good job. You know, just been hanging out with my family and stuff.
Cool. And then Pavel, you can greet Tina.
Hey Tina.
Hey, Pavel.
Haven't seen you since yesterday, since we went for the movie. So how are you doing?
I'm fine. Just like yesterday. So, when are we leaving?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool.
Cool. And then Tina, you can greet me.
Hey, Mikael. So good to see you. I've got so much to tell you.
Really?
Yeah, my sister is a pilot now.
Wow, that's cool. Why? How come I never heard about this before?
Well, it's pretty recent development.
Cool. And then lastly, we'll greet family. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the same direction now. I'm gonna say, okay, so hey, Horst, you coming for dinner?
What's mother making?
I think it's just like a salad. She's been a little lazy in the hot weather.
Don't think so. But I'll come over tomorrow if you're there.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. Cool. And then Horst, you can greet Noella.
Hey, No. Do you want to hang out today?
Sure, if you don't mind just like sitting on the couch and watching TV.
That's a perfect evening for me.
Cool. And Noella can greet Pavel.
Hey, Pavel, can you go to the store for me?
Yeah, sure. What do we need? Are we missing something?
Yeah, can you just get like 5 freezer pizzas?
Oh yeah, pizzas today. Yeah, fantastic. Sure, I'll go.
And then Pavel can greet Tina.
Hey Tina, how was your day?
Hey, yeah, pretty okay, I guess. I mean, I've not been doing much, but it's all right.
Okay,
What
good to
you
hear.
been up to? Yeah, okay.
And then Tina, you can
Yeah.
greet me.
Hey, Mika, I'm back. Have you fed the cat yet? Because she's really annoying.
Oh, damn.
Meow,
well,
meow, meow,
Thanks.
meow.
Thanks.
yeah, just give me a second. I'll just finish up here.
Oh, so you haven't?
No,
So it's
no.
the real hunger.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, it's fine. I can feed her.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Cool. So that was we all feel good and warm in our greeting muscles. The next exercise is called start a fight. I'll choose 2 players. I think I'll start with Horst and Noella. And you are a couple who will get into a fight about who does the housework. You can start whenever you please.
Horst, I have done the dishes and the laundry every day for the past month. When are you gonna do it?
Well, when you take out the trash and mow the lawn, we can gladly switch. I mean, doing the dishes is like holidays.
Do you know how many dishes you produce? You eat like 5 meals a day.
I'm a
You
big
only
boy.
have to mow the lawn like once every 2 weeks. I have to do dishes like 4 times a day.
And cut. Okay, so
Feeling the anger already.
yeah, good. So you can now repeat the same scene, but with the knowledge that one of the characters has secretly gone through the other's phone and found a number of incriminating texts where they were flirting with a coworker. Who's the person who has gone through the phone of the other person? Is there any volunteers?
Is it the same 2 players?
Yes.
I found the number if you want to.
Sure.
Cool. Now you can start with the same argument about the dishes.
We start with the same argument?
Yeah, just with that knowledge in mind. You have done this.
Horst, can you please do your own dishes when you eat snacks in the middle of the day?
If you're doing the laundry and take out the trash every day, I'm gladly. It's like a holiday.
I do the laundry every 3 days.
Yeah, well, every 3 days, maybe you shouldn't be so crazy about hygiene. I mean, you don't have to wash my t-shirt because I have worn it like once.
You work out every day. I have to
by
wash
the
all
way,
those sweaty clothes.
What are you doing when I'm working out?
Cut. Good. So now it's Pavel and Tina's turn. You can do the same exercise first with without knowledge about the text and just about the housework. You're ready whenever.
Hey Tina, can you clean up the apartment? I think my friends are coming up this evening.
Your friends? I cleaned up the apartment just yesterday. Why don't you clean it?
Yeah, the kitchen doesn't look like it was cleaned in some time, so I don't know. maybe you should put more heart into it.
Heart? Are you kidding me? I've just come home from work and now I need to clean your kitchen for your friends? No way.
Cut.
I-
Perfect. Yeah, this is something I have to practice apparently. Cut on the height of the argument. So yeah, good. Now you do it again with the knowledge that the one person has gone through the other's phone and found a number of incriminating text that they are flirting with a coworker. Who's the one who has gone through the phone?
I could be that.
Sure. Go for it.
Okay.
Now
we can start arguing again.
Hey, honey, can you clean up the house today? Friends are coming by in the evening.
What? The house has been cleaned yesterday. Why? What are those friends anyway? I mean, are those?
Oh, no, Paul.
Is there a woman among them?
Yeah, like
by chance.
Rachel has been playing the board games with us recently. She joined the club.
Oh, has she? Interesting. Well, I think you should clean the apartment for a change. For Rachel, don't you think?
Cut. Cool. So now we got into arguing mode, so that's good. The next exercise is to everyone, starting with me, will tell a story about a time you felt powerless and could do nothing about it. So I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna say that, tell a story about, it's a pretty recent thing. I just quit my job, actually. And that's the reason why is because I was working in a project in Oslo. I was a job that I really liked, but I was not like my fixed position was not there. It was another position that was not so interesting. I moved from there because I didn't like it very much. And then suddenly my old boss was just like, no, you're coming back. And so I had to, and yeah, I could really do nothing about it. Which was very, yeah, I had to like move all my things, and I went down a lot in salary, and yeah, I don't know, it was very strange. So yeah, that's a story that about when I felt powerless. So we can start with Horst. Do you have a story?
It would be a story about work, I guess. So I'm a teacher, and like recently there was a student who I thought was very smart and very talented, but the problem is she wouldn't come to school regularly, and you know, I tried to persuade her. It's not really my job, but I tried to persuade her to, you know, stick to the rules, because otherwise she will get kicked out. But it was like a wall. It was impossible to penetrate.
Thanks for sharing. Noella, do you have a story?
Sure. Last fall I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks, and it was I won't go into the details, but it was just kind of a weird and scary experience.
Yeah, I get that. Thanks for sharing. Pavel?
Yeah, I think it's dated a couple of years back when I was like after studies and looking for work. I was in this like weird spot with having like a diploma degree, but wasn't able to find a job. Was going for the interviews and like just had like a series of like no, thank you, we will call you, we will not call you, and it felt really weird and bad.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And Tina?
Yeah, mine's a bit complicated, but I'm pretty convinced that my niece, who's like 12, has ADHD, and I recognize her symptoms because I had the same ones, and I've been diagnosed, and she has been tested and hasn't been diagnosed, and I'm kind of angry because I'm so sure she must have it, and they just said no, she's just lazy, and that's kind of frustrating because it can destroy a young person's life, and I just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Tina.
Yeah.
So now we're already seeing like a picture of what the game's main subjects are, but now with anger and powerlessness here. And now we are going to go into more like the practical things. So there's the way this game works is that there's 3 types of scenes. There's scenes on the ground, which I will set. Like it's the ones that are closest to like regular role-playing scenes. You'll play your characters, and I'll be playing anyone else. Pretty straightforward. There's the flying scenes, and they are a little bit different, and that's what we're going to practice now. And then there is the interview scenes, and in the interview scenes it's between the acts, and you get to ask the characters some questions just to like set the mood and how they're feeling, and what they're thinking about things, to set the mood for the next act. So how we're going to do when we're doing the pilot scenes, I'm gonna show you now. We can start with I guess we can do some new pairs now, I guess. We don't have to have the same fighting pair, so we're gonna do Pavel and Noella at the first ones who are flying. So how it's working is it's going to be a first pilot and a second pilot, and then start of every flying scene you decide together the pair who is going to be what, and how I think that, well, I don't want to get into details of how that works, but pretty much like the ones who is the first pilot is the one that has the most narrative control.
Is the second pilot like a co-pilot?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can decide that in between you now who wants to be the first pilot.
You can be the first pilot now. I'll be the next pilot, the first pilot later.
Okay.
So you're on so pretty much how it's going to work is that the first pilot will first narrate what happens. I'll set the scene for this, but I will always set the scene for these scenes as well. But when you're in the air, then you will be the ones who say what happens. So the first pilot narrates what happens, and then the first pilot narrates how she feels, how her body reacts. For example, I take the plane full gas off the runway and go into the air, and it feels exhilarating, something like that. And then the co-pilot narrates what happens, the same thing, and the co-pilot narrates how she feels. So then we see the plane feels wobbly as we go off the runway, and I feel nervous, but I still feel good when we get off the ground, for example. You can also introduce, the second pilot can introduce as much stress as they want in the fiction for the first pilot, that they have to react to also if they want.
You said as much stress?
Yeah, if like, for example, when you're in the air, you can say, oh, you're doing this, but the second pilot can tell the real truth of what's happening. Like, oh, I'm going very fast and I feel very like, some of the characters are a bit inclined to do crazy maneuvers in the air. And the second pilot could then, for example, say, we're losing altitude. I feel their engines are a bit weak or something like that. And then the other pilot has to either try to cope with the situation or give over control to the second pilot, which is something they can do at any time. But they have to do it. It's the first pilot who has to give control to the second pilot. And that's so the purpose is how it's structured like this is that it allows the characters to tell both sides of the story. they can have pretty different experiences of the same flight. And also it highlights like how the characters see things differently. It can add drama and change the narrative of the flight. So both players have input on what happens and can introduce action and complications to calibrate the narrative of the game. Is there any questions about this? You can try first, maybe, if you want.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So you're on the runway, and the colonel just gave you clearance to go. You're in this like pretty shoddy, like old, like double-decker plane. Seems more suited to spray farms with fertilizer than really anything else. Yeah, what do you do?
So, I'm kind of nervous because it's my first time being the first pilot, and I'm having a lot of cramps, so my body is just hurting already. So, but I try to do my best to like confidently take off, and I'm just kind of trying to focus on flying smoothly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you kind of already said how you're feeling, but as you take off, how you're feeling?
I guess I'm a little bit scared since it's my first time, and since I'm kind of, my body is in pain, I am not like entirely focused on like kind of the wonder of flying. It's kind of just a little bit more like scary and like trying to like stay focused.
Mm-hmm. And then the co-pilot can narrate what happens.
Yeah, I think I'm like not used to being in the co-pilot chair, so I'm just like trying to remember what I should do. Just like looking on all those like clocks and what they are showing, this altitude, speed, fuel, everything, and then we go on, and then I just like, oh yeah, here is the ground. Then we just take off, and I'm just like, oh, I missed all the fun action, all the fun feelings.
Mm. Yeah, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm a bit sad because I don't get to fly often, and Copilot just there stares at all the equipment and communicates what happens. Doesn't get to thrill of riding the plane, driving the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much like that seems you did well. Like that's pretty much how it's a little easier when you actually have characters. But that's pretty much like how the mechanics work, and then you'll like exchange like a few times maybe depending on like what happens. So yeah, any questions? Cool. You want to try Tina and Horst?
I feel like a natural co-pilot.
Okay, fine. So I guess I'm the pilot, and I'm this is not my first time. I guess I'm training you as a co-pilot, and well, I'm pretty confident already, and as we're taking off, I feel oh well, we're taking altitude. I don't know the words about flying, so
That's fine.
it feels like a relief. I feel as though I'm away from all the world and everyone is judging me, and I feel confident. Confidence I don't feel on the ground as much.
Cool. And the co-pilot?
Yeah, we see my character hanging at every word that the pilot is saying, trying to soak it up like a sponge. And when we have a lift off, for a second, I forget about all the dials and everything, and I just look outside and I feel like a feeling of wonder and awe that you can just, leave everything behind and fly away.
Thank you. So yeah, that's pretty much how these scenes work. If there's at any point, do you have any questions now? So it seems pretty. Yeah, you did well, so should be good. So I think like you'll get some help with having characters, and I will also frame the scenes a bit more when there's actual scenes going on. But that's pretty much like how it works. And with that, we're pretty much done with like the first part of the game, and we're also even ahead of schedule, if I'm not wrong. So I think maybe well, the first thing I'll do before we go to like a small break is that I will cast you into decide which characters you're gonna play. This is actually supposed to be me casting you, so I think I'm gonna do just that. Let's see. So I think I'm gonna put Noella as Helen White Snap. And I'm gonna pick Horse for Betty Jane Williams. I think I'm gonna put Pavel as Patricia, and then Tina as Violet. And I think I'm gonna give you until 7 to read and also have a break. You can just like do it in your own time, and we'll be back at 7. Does that sound okay? Is there some stuff to read there as well? Cool. See you in 15 then. Good.
So, Mikhail, was it designed? So, was it designed to be like a session or a full LARP for 4 people?
No, it's these festival things are a little bit strange like that because there is variations of them. Like there's some. It's called like a semi-free form, which means this is made to be done sitting at a table. But yeah, it's made like all the games on the con is made for the con. So this is for the scenario. There's like a scenario competition, and all the games that are run on the con is made for that. So they're all original games. Yeah, and this one.
And they're judged in the room looking how people enjoyed the game, or what? Because you said it's a competition.
I think half of it is like a jury, which consists of previous winners and stuff, and then half of it is like there's also a award that goes to like the players can vote on, so like the players award. So there's a lot. They have like this whole thing where they give awards for a lot of different things. Like it's the Danish role-playing Oscars almost.
Okay.
They get a golden penguin if they win. I'm pretty sure this won a golden penguin. I'm not sure. I wasn't there for that.
What is this?
It's this game is made for a con called Festival, and all the games there they are designed solely for entering the like scenario competition. All the games run there are games that are made for that con. So there's no like games on demand or no people playing Apocalypse World or anything like that. It's all the games that are designed to be a part of that competition. Yeah, and they have this like on the last day of the con, they have this awards show where they give out awards for all different things, like best characters, best I don't know, story, something. There's a lot of different things.
Sorry, I cut out just as you said the name of it.
Festival. It's a Danish con. It's a weird design tradition. It's almost made its own genre. I guess you can already feel it a little bit that it's quite different than most things you played probably.
Yeah, something heavy.
Yeah, and they weren't really influenced by like American indie games as much because they were much earlier. Like they were designing weird freeform games already in the like 90s. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of Americans coming there now actually to like with their games and stuff, which is pretty cool. Among others, the person who made this anthology, Mo, which is awesome person. She's also coming up with a new game this fall called Rosenstrasse, which I played there a few years ago, which is unbelievable. You have to keep your eyes up for that. But yeah, onto our game. Have you gotten to read through your characters?
Yes.
Yeah. Got any questions before we start?
Yeah, I think there's one sentence that just ends mid-sentence.
Oh no!
It's in line 18, and it starts with the only thing she had to, and then it just ends.
And you're
I'm the second. I'm
no, you're a Betty Jane.
Jane. I'm not sure if it's important, but
yeah, I have done a lot of copy pasting to be able to get this on the character keeper. I'm just gonna check. Here are the characters. Violet, yeah, and that was the only thing. Oh, I think it's the only thing she had to do was apply, or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't think it matters much. I mean, the characters, even though they're pretty big, the most important thing is to read them and get a feel of your character. And then, if you need to, you can go back and look. But it's your character, so don't feel stressed about all the information in the thing. So, any other questions? Cool. We'll do like our first interview scene, which is the prologue of the game. So you're all free to ask questions during these scenes, but I will start to set the tone at least. And if you have any questions or like questions for the other characters, feel free to like ask me. If I don't see that you're you want to just put your hand up or something like that. It's a little bit awkward with the video things. It can be a bit difficult to notice sometimes. But I'm gonna ask Helen first. So how do you feel about that you got accepted into the W.A.S.P?
I'm very proud to be able to serve my. Also, kind of secretly very excited to be able to fly and to be able kind of to like get away from the life I've kind of become marred in.
Mm-hmm. And Betty, do you feel how do you feel about leaving your life behind to go to be a pilot?
Mainly relief. I think I'm very much looking forward to doing what I love to do and what I couldn't when the war broke out.
Patricia, why did you apply to become a member of the W.A.S.P?
Well, it's time to show to the greater public that women can also do important things, and that we can actually contribute to the war effort.
When you see the planes on arriving to Sweetwater, let's see, I have to have the character overview as well. Violet, how does that make you feel, seeing the planes?
Planes, well, I feel relieved to see the planes because I know I'll be able to fly again. I haven't been able to fly for several months now, and it always calms me, and I'm glad I can, but I also feel kind of guilty because I disapprove of the war, and I wish it would be over soon.
How do you feel about taking part of the war, Helen?
I think I'm very proud, and my husband has also gone to serve in the armed forces. So I think I am excited and proud to serve. And W.A.S.P was the only kind of area I was interested in serving in because I do like flying, and so I think this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Does anyone have any questions for any of the characters? Cool. I think we'll get into our first scene then. So let's see. This is where I have to keep order in my online papers. So yeah, you arrive at the training base in Sweetwater, Texas. It's a pretty like it's a pretty dry area. It's not a desert, but almost kind of like dry plains. It's it's September, but it's still pretty hot. I think it's probably like 25 degrees at least. And I guess for some of you that still is pretty summery. 34 young women arrive together with you, and you see like the soldier of the base gathering to watch you as you arrive by bus and cars. They wave their hands, and cat calls after you, and the dust hangs thick in the air as you move towards the barracks. All the barracks, they look alike. There's grays with small windows with stars and stripes waving in front of them, in front of each of the barracks. Behind the barracks is the runways, where you can see a plane go off as you settle into your room. You gathered in the mess hall, waiting for someone to welcome you, together with the 34 other women. You are at the same table, the four of you. I'll let you present yourself to each other, like how you look, and just have a conversation for a little bit before waiting for the person to greet you and welcome you.
Yeah, I think Patricia, I don't know, were we given some military uniforms or not yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, so I think Patricia, she's like a large lady, and she's like wearing some farmer's daughter clothing, I assume, and she like leans over the table and just like, yeah, no, I think she just like looks at all of you and just like, so ladies, I'm party. It's nice, isn't it? Like we get to fly some planes. How long have you been flying? She doesn't like address it to anyone in particular.
So Helen is sitting like very like with straight posture. She's very like concerned about like appearances, and so she kind of makes kind of a annoyed face when Patty just like leans over the tables with like her, like I can imagine just like her elbows on the table and stuff. And so she
Oh, and there she went.
So let me assume this intimidating posture. Noella, are you with us?
No, she left the group chat, I think. So
Oh.
there you are. Is the not changing?
Did I
Yeah.
cut out? Yeah.
Yes, you did.
What was the last thing you heard?
That you were annoyed that I'm leaning over the table and then you cut
Oh
off.
yes. And so she says, I'm Mrs. Martin Wyatt Snap. You can call me Helen. Very proud to be here to serve our country flying planes.
No need to be so formal. We are all equal here, yes.
Who's the next one to speak up?
Violet just silently shakes her head a little at the patriotic speech of Helen. Oh yeah, and she's just has really impeccably dressed a blouse and very plain clothing, and just sits and touching her knees and kind of nervous but reserved way. She just says, I'm Violet.
Yeah, I think so. Betty wears a very expensive dress with like nice floral patterns, and she has a a silver cigarette. What's it called? Like a
the holder thing, right?
no. Oh, well, maybe that as well. But yeah, she put a silver, a cigarette case, a silver cigarette case, and like a slim golden lighter, and she definitely rolls her eyes both when Helen speaks and also at Patricia, and she blows out her smoke and says, Betty, and I actually don't think that we're all equal, but it's okay, honey.
Yeah, and I think at that there's a woman that comes in, and you see comes towards you with the group of you sitting at the tables, and she says, "So this is our new WASPs, huh? I think some of you might recognize her as Nancy Harkness, one of the founders of the WASP. Well, I think some of you already met her, and she's like smiles towards you and says, "Well, this is certainly the last time we'll see all of you in civilian clothing for a while. You're gonna get your equipment out later today, but first, let me welcome you all. For the next 4 months, you're undertaking the best pilot training in the world. You are women pioneers, and you will fly military aircraft as the first woman ever in this country. I know you will meet the high standards of training. I have handpicked every one of you, and I know you will not disappoint." And she like looks across all of you and says, "It will be tough, but I know that every one of you is filled with love for our country, and that the love will see you through. You are a dutiful woman who will do your duty for America, and America will never forget." And I think she like probably like is any one of you reacting to any of this?
Definitely not verbally, but I think that Betty straightens up when Nancy talks about excellence and performing.
Yeah, and I think like some of the women behind you start like clapping, and she says, "I will leave you into Sergeant Williamson's good hands to get out the equipment. And now eat so that you can so we can do all of that today. You also have to put all of it in your lockers in orderly fashion. He will show you how. Okay?" And I think like there's some like confusion with someone saying yes sir, and people not doing different things in uncoordinated ways. And she likes I think she like smiles a little bit at it and like goes out. And then there's this sergeant who just like addresses you. "So let's get down to business, gals." And that's scene.
Was that a male sergeant?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's no female officers in the army at this time.
All right.
So in this next scene, we will have Betty and Violet. You will be in the scene. It's the first day at the base. Betty wants to sleep in the top bunk, but none of those are available. So she has moved Violet things into the lower bunk. Violet, you walk in on Betty while she's moving her stuff. What do you do?
Oh, would you not touch my things? I'm a little particular with those.
That's okay. I already touched them. They are in the lower bunk. It's okay.
Oh, but okay. I guess you want to sleep on the top bunk.
Yeah.
fine, but please don't touch my stuff again, yes?
That's okay.
I know.
I mean,
And she just grabs her bag and opens it and then checks to see if everything is in place and then moves it just right. Turns it around so it goes in the perfect direction.
and yeah,
Go ahead.
Betty watches her very curiously because she has no clue how to fold things in order, and I think that is what is expected of her.
I think we cut the scene there. So good. In the next scene, we'll have Violet and Pat. It's the first flying lesson. It's the second day at the base, and you're scheduled for your first flying lesson, and you're waiting. You meet each other in the hangar, and you're waiting for the instructor. You're going to fly a plane together. And you see like the plane standing there is a flimsy, disused two-propeller plane. You can start the scene there.
Yeah, I think Patricia like walks by like the part of the plane behind the wings, which is like usually long because like I don't know, passenger or cargo goes there, and she's like just touching it because it's probably like the biggest plane she was so close to, and then I think she will just like face Violet and says, "So how are you feeling about flying such a big airplane? I have never flown such a big one before."
I'm actually pretty used to flying big machines. Yeah, it's probably like last time, but it's been a while since we can't fly at the moment. And she flinches back a little because Patricia does these extensive movements. Why is she so lanky all the time?
Yeah, I imagine that there are like some small stairs leading to allowing you to enter the plane, and then probably like tip over them and just like fall on the ground, and then just like, oh, I'm all right, and just like clumsy, very like try to hold to something and then pull herself up. I'm all right, nothing happened.
Yeah, and I think as you do that, like the instructor arrives and like looks at you and is like, "Well, here's the fresh meat, I guess." And just like it looks a little like weirdly at you, Pat, while you're like getting up from falling over the stairs.
Yeah, Pat never lets like a slight insult fly, so she just says, "I'm not a cow, I'm a woman."
I think he like I think he says like, "Good, cows can't fly planes." So, and speaking of which, who's flying it?
I am. I'm the pilot.
Okay.
I'm used to such big machines.
Very well. Get into the pilot seat then.
All right.
Well, Violet is moving into the pilot seat in very precise movements, and she smooths her uniform, I guess is what she's wearing now. Takes a deep breath and looks at Patricia expectantly because she's not really sure how well she's gonna do. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it takes a moment for Patricia to like fit into the chair, and then she's like moves like arm support out of the way to like fit into the chair, and then she just like sits there and it's like, okay, so this is this throttle, and she does like, and like usually the first pilot is about to touch the throttle, but she like moves it just like to test if it works. Yeah, so where do we start, instructor?
And the instructor says like, yeah, so you're taking off, taking a small circle around and then going down again. I just want to assure that you actually can fly. I mean, I know Nancy has handpicked you, but I mean, I'm gonna see it before I believe it.
Yeah, Violet takes a conspiratorial look at Patricia, raising her eyebrows. Really?
I think Patricia just like shadowed by her body, she just like shows to Violet that we are all right.
Okay.
I don't have all day, you know.
Oh, so we're just supposed to go.
Yeah. We're doing a flying scene.
Is he standing outside just for?
Yeah, he's like, he's standing down. I'm gonna go into the radio tower. If there's anything, you can reach me on the radio.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's good.
Violet just begins checking all her instruments from left to right and top to bottom to make sure everything is in order. And when she's finished, she starts again from bottom to top. And she checks whether Patricia is buckled in. I don't think there's any seatbelts around.
Yeah,
I mean, there probably is, because it's like not. I mean, you can go upside down and stuff.
Yeah, you should really put on the seatbelt. You know.
Yeah, they barely fit. I will. Yeah. I have it. I can't breathe, but I will do it.
Oh.
So describe to me what it looks like when you take off, Violet.
Okay. I think Violet takes another third check of her instruments.
What are you waiting for? You're allowed to check them twice.
I don't know. Maybe something has changed.
We are standing in one place.
There's always the possibility that something could be wrong, you know. Okay. So I don't know about planes. I guess it's not like a car, but I just use the ignition or whatever. Take a deep breath, and I'm a bit at a loss on how to describe the technicalities.
You don't have to describe the technicalities. Just like you go smoothly off with the plane is wobbling or whatever. Like technicalities doesn't matter. So you hear like the engine roaring slowly into full motion.
I think the plane is wobbling a bit at the start, but I've got it quickly under control, and I'm suddenly very calm, and I'm not as stressed as I used to be. I was very under pressure before, and I now can breathe and look outside and sit back. Yes. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and as you take off, how do you feel?
Me again?
Yeah, I mean, if you're done with, I mean, you did describe it a little bit, so we can go to Pavel. How does the takeoff look from your side?
Yeah, I think Patricia haven't launched such a big monster, so she just like wants to like touch the steering things, but she knows she's not supposed to. But maybe she's like, no, and then she just like looks through all the windows to just check if there is if the runway is clear, and then I think she just enjoys this moment as the plane gets the speed, as it takes off, and then as we make around, I will test this throwing some stress into situation, and shout like, Violet, look out! We are turning too fast. We will hit the control tower.
No, everything is fine. What? And Violet just moves the steering stick.
And I think you hear on the radio, hey, watch out for the tower.
Oh, she calmly increases altitude and avoids the tower. It's no problem at all.
How do you feel when you like just avoid the tower?
I feel like I feel a little excited because it was so close, but I knew I could handle it, so I waited till the last second.
Yeah, and I think you can see you're so close that you can see like the Sergeant Williamson in there, like looking pretty white and like waving at you. And like, how do this look from Pat's side?
Yeah, I think she's like very stressed. She's like sweating very frownly right now, especially as we're getting close to this like radio tower. She like holds to the chair, getting ready to hit it, and then it feels like, oh my god, she doesn't know how to fly. It's super crazy. I could have done it much better, and then yeah, I could have done it really better. Like, and then like the feelings of like being again like left to the side, left out, just like come forth.
And how do you land, Violet?
I guess this was just a practice flight, right? Just a practice run. I guess I'm taking a smooth round and landing the plane, yeah, very smoothly, I guess. I'm pretty experienced with flying, and it calms me down, but I have a kind of a weird grin on my face.
Yeah, and I think like you see Sergeant Williamson like coming out and like I think he's shouting, "You stupid cow! You were not supposed to!" And it like you can see he's pretty angry. And how does this landing look from Pat's side?
Even though the feelings of being second came forth, I think now that we are on the ground and everything and the landing went so smoothly, she feels again like, yeah, we are back to the old roles of being just women. And yeah, it feels like calm down, but also like, yeah, now back to our old selves.
Cool. And we cut the scene there.
Mm-hmm.
So the next scene is with Pratt and Helen. You have been in Sweetwater for a week, and the officers at the base have invited you for a formal dinner to welcome you. Everyone is getting ready, putting on their best dresses, except Pat, who intends to show up in the normal clothes. You can play out the scene when Helen confronts Pat about this.
Patricia, you cannot go to a formal dinner in those clothes. Don't you have a Sunday dress?
Like no, like that's apart the only thing I brought with me. I have the second one similar, just like yellow, not green.
Oh dear, oh dear. I'll help you find one right away. There must be another. There must be someone you can borrow something from. You cannot go like that.
You probably see like there is a third one off in her shelf, but like black one. But she didn't mention this one. But there was definitely like one nicer one in her like not the shelf, but in her, how do you call this? Like
locker.
So I go and grab it and like kind of hold it up to her. Like, what about this one? You should wear this one.
No, it's too small for me. I will look like very, very ugly. This one has enough fabric for me to feel comfortable. This one, my mom's made it. It's like 10 pounds it's like too small for me.
Don't worry, you only have to wear it for 2 hours and we can distract from it with some jewelry. Come on, Patricia, this is very important. You must put on your most put your most ladylike foot forward. Here, let me help you. And she like starts like unzipping the clothes that you have on right now and like trying to put the other dress on.
Yeah, we cut there. Good. So the next scene is with Helen and Betty. It's a flying lesson. So we'll do it the same way as we did with the last flying lesson. I'll frame the scene. We might do something before, but you'll have to decide during that first part who's the first pilot and who's the second pilot. I wasn't clear about that before, so I had to. But yeah, and then you do the flying way of doing scenes after that. So it's in October 1943. Betty and Helen are due for a lesson, and Helen is waiting for Betty, who is late. When Betty finally shows up, you have to establish who's going to be the first pilot. Yeah.
Betty, you must be on time for these things. This is very important.
Yeah, whatever. I think I will fly.
No, I will fly. You will be the second pilot.
I don't like your tone, and you're completely mistaken because I'm the better pilot. Let me show you.
Betty, you are completely up in the clouds. You need to let someone show you how to really fly. You need to get a dose of reality.
Have you seen Violet flying? That's the way I want to fly, and I show you. And she just takes the pilot's seat.
So I kind of like huff and sit next to her, but then I'm like, "Did you check this dial?" And I'm just like fussing, like, check this one, and I reach over and like buckle her seatbelt.
I think while you're talking, Betty just starts singing to drown out your voice.
Ugh.
How does it look as you take off, Betty?
I think from the outside, if we just see the plane, it looks pretty ruthless. It's she's driving up to the very end of the airstrip, waiting for the last moment, and then with the maximum velocity, takes to the skies in a very like what's it called, steep curve.
Yeah.
How do you feel as you take off?
It feels like coming home. Definitely, you see smiling, probably for the first time, a genuine smile, not a like a conversational smile. And her eyes are sparkling, and it's coming home. It's a relief.
And how does this look from Helen's point of view?
So while we're taking off, Helen is just like gripping the chair and is like, I hope we get through this. And then once we're in the air, she's still kind of backseat driving, but kind of to a little bit of a lesser extent, and is really window and just enjoying the feeling. So like Helen always has like a bunch of like things on her mind and kind of like a weight that when she goes up into the air, it just kind of like lifts.
You're muted, Mikael.
Yeah, okay. I was saying I was muted. That's what I was saying. So how do you do you think like Betty would notice and then like if you're changed how you change when you go into there, Helen, or on how would she?
We notice how Betty changes, or does Betty notice how I change?
Betty notice how you change. Like how would she? Would she?
I mean, I think just like I stopped talking as much, and just like she's like very like kind of visibly uptight a little bit, but then like her like shoulders relax and just like the general posture relaxes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what do you do in the air, Betty?
Yeah, do we have some kind of objective? Is it just going down a list of things that we have to do?
Yeah, it's probably like just going so and so kilometers in that direction, navigating to this place, and then like coming back. I mean, you know where this place is, but the thing is to like try to use the navigational skills.
Yeah, I think in everything she does it like ruthless or edgy or or not following the protocol. Always a bit faster than it should be, or higher or lower, and never like really following the rules. And she definitely looks to the side, grinning and saying to Helen, "See, you're enjoying yourself. Just tell me that it's true."
I enjoy flying. I do not enjoy your flying.
And what exactly is it that you do? With like that, do you go low or high, or what do you do exactly?
Yeah, well, definitely trying to go as high as possible, to go above the clouds. I don't know if that's
Yeah, and I think like you hear over the radio like, you're not supposed to, I can't see you from here, you're not supposed to go over the clouds.
And Betty has this southern drawl that I can't obviously do, but she says, "Sir, you're breaking up, I can't hear you." And she climbs even higher.
And how does this look from Helen's point of view?
I think this makes Helen a little bit scared, and she's just like kind of like gripping the seat and like has her eyes closed for a little bit. And she's trying very hard not to lose it.
Cool. You come to like the place you're supposed to, more or less, and you turn around and go in for the landing. How do you land, Betty?
I think Betty comes in slightly tilted, and slightly from the wrong angle, in order to allow her to, at the last minute, pull the stick up and try to land as smoothly as possible, given that she was much too fast.
Yeah, and how is the landing going? Like it's a hard landing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and how does this look from Helen's point of view?
I think when they land, there's a lot of like bouncing around the seat and just like trying not to fall out. Even though they have their seatbelts on, it's still a hard landing. And once they stop, Helen is just like, "Oh my Lord." And she's just like kind of quiet and trying not to like start yelling at Betty or something.
Yeah, and I think Sergeant Williamson beats you to that, which is apparently like a known sight for you by now, running out of the control tower. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, you're going to go to doing the dishes for a week.
And
like shakes his head. And like, is the plane okay? What the women flying, it's fucking crazy.
And I think Betty is still smiling when he says that, and is just thinking, it was well worth it.
Yeah, and I think we cut the scene there. Cool. So for the next scene, it's Helen and Violet. It's November 1943. You have learned the rules, regulations, and routines of the army. You present yourself each morning at 7 o'clock sharp for inspection. You have learned how your quarters must look, your clothes must lie in your closets. Even if you are not the regular army, you still have to present yourself properly. This morning, Betty has not complied with the regulations, and her things are all over the bunk. Instead of punishing her, the NCO has the commanders have chosen to a collective punishment. So everyone in the barracks gets extra cleaning duty, just like you would punish regular soldiers. Helen and Betty have been assigned the showers. Play out the scene where Helen and Betty receives the order to scrub the shower floors. Allow them to discuss the order with the officer who gave it. So yeah, I think it's probably like our regular usual suspect, Sergeant Williamson, who comes in as like, so your duty is to clean the showers. If I can't see myself in all the shower heads, it's not clean enough. Is that understood?
Yes. Yes, sir. Wait, so is it Helen and Betty or Helen and Violet?
Helen and Violet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Yes, sir.
And he like it turns out, very well, I'll be back here in an hour. It better be presentable by then. And like he walks out of the room and like doesn't slam the door, but he closes the door behind him. And you see like this pretty. I mean, it's a dirty shower. It's like 40 people who shower here daily. Yeah. What do you do?
Well, let's get to work.
Oh my God, this is what a shower. I don't know where to start. This Betty person, she should really learn to be a bit more compassionate.
Yes, well, as much as Betty is not fulfilling her duties, now let's focus on getting this shower done. Come on, Violet, this is perfect practice for when you'll be married.
Yeah, and I think we cut the scene there actually. Cool. Thanks. So for this next scene, we will have all of you here, but the main people in focus will be Pat and Betty. It's outside at the base. So in November 1943, you're having a lunch in the mess hall, and an officer approaches you and informs you that there is a journalist waiting outside. The officer asks Betty, Violet, and Pat, and Helen to go out and give the journalist an interview. The journalist wants to make a picture spread for a local paper. The officer tells you that it's important for the moral that they portray themselves and the base in a positive light. I think like as you come out, it's probably like it's colder now. Like it's maybe like 15 degrees, and I think it's pretty humid in the air. It's been raining a lot. It's not raining now, but it's like very very humid. And there's like a journalist. He's wearing like I think he's wearing like a vest and is and like a bow tie and has like this hat. He's having a cigarette, waiting for you outside. And when you come, it's like, oh, ladies, excellent. My name is James Olsen of the Texas Gazette.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
I will have you sit down on the bench there, and I can ask you some questions.
I have an out of character question. On my description, it stands that Betty wears a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Do I wear one now?
I mean, it's not a literal mask.
Oh, okay.
Oh. I also thought it was a literal mask, and I was a bit worried.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
That
something
is-
I'll tell the designer. Maybe clarify it's not a literal mask. So okay, yeah, but it's not a literal mask, no. As you sit down, I think he asks. I think he asks. Like all of you, so why did you join the W.A.S.P? It's a pretty peculiar thing to do, don't you think?
Oh, this is because we love flying. We have our pilot licenses already. This is just a step up to relieve our brothers and other men so that they can go and finish this war.
So Helen kind of cuts in. We are all here to serve our country. Personally, after my husband joined, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, I decided to also put my flying experience to use to help serve the country.
Mm-hmm.
Violet says, I am here because I think the war is a terrible thing that we must endure, and I would like to help it finish as quickly as possible, so we can be better again. And if it's what I have to do, if that's flying, then I'm happy to help.
He puts notes down in his pad and nods. Yeah. So how are you finding life here in Sweetwater? It must be terrible. All these men in uniform everywhere. All the distractions.
While I admit that this place is not greatly befitting of ladies such as ourselves, we are doing both our American duties and our womanly duties to support the men in the armed forces.
I don't know what to say to that.
We are making this place a better place with us over here.
What do you mean? And I think he watches up from his notepad and is like, what do you mean better? Like, what could be better in a military base than our armed forces?
Well, it just needs us. This is a very manly place. It needs women to be that we are all human and we are all here. So
yeah, and he replies like, you're not in the army. The army is no place for women. And he turns towards Betty and what do you think?
I think the whole time while he was talking and the other women were answering, Betty was silently watching the. I mean, we are still on the airfield, so she was looking dreamily at the planes, and she turns to the reporter and says, "You were saying?"
And I think actually that he looks at you with an empty stare for a second and is like, oh, never mind that. Did you leave your husband behind to go here?
I wouldn't say I left him behind. It's where I went. I went to join the Air Force. And if you go somewhere, then you go from somewhere, but the destination seems to be more important than the place you left, don't you think?
He nods and smiles and says, yeah, that's true, I guess. Just curious. and he looks towards you. So, is there a queue in front of the mirror every morning?
Is that directed to everyone?
Yeah, I think like well, I think actually he looks towards Pat.
No, why would there be? We don't need so much makeup on the army. No, but yeah. Like Pat looked like very confused by this question because I don't think she even like puts the makeup on her. Maybe like a little bit, but probably not so much like the other three. So she's like confused by this question.
Yeah, and I think he like leans a little bit towards Betty. It's like, I mean, you sure could use some. And then he goes, well, never mind that. I'm gonna have you line up for a photo shoot, one by one. Can you? I guess we can take the first photo with you, Pat, can't we?
Of course, yes.
Wait, and then Helen starts like fixing Pat's hair.
Of course.
Oh, it's all right. They are just like this. Yes.
Yeah, and I think like, okay, so he takes you over to like in front of like the airstrip, and you see like the plane behind. And so can you push out your chest a little bit, pout your lips maybe? Can you do that?
I'm just myself like over here. Yeah, like just catch me and the airplane, please.
Not like that. Try to maybe like turn a little bit to the left, so we don't have you in profile. Can you and he like sighs a little bit and oh well, I guess that's fine. And then like he takes the picture, and he calls over Betty.
Yeah, Betty walks to the journalist, to the photograph, to the journalist, and I imagine that that she poses in a very like glamorous way. It's all of a sudden a different person.
Yeah, and I think you see. I mean, you're kind of. I think you see this person, and I think you see in him the way men usually behaves towards you. I think, and he stands there for like a second. And it's like, you would do better on a cover of a magazine than in a plane, though, don't you think?
You would probably do better, I don't know, like repairing an engine than doing interviews, because your questions are just stupid.
And I think like actually like he laughs off that, and it's like, oh, and witty too. And he takes a picture. It's going to be a good picture, first page of the Texas Gazette, that's for sure. And like as you go by, I think he gives you like a pat on the butt.
Oh no.
Yeah, she. I mean, I think Betty just takes it, rolls her eyes towards the other women, and just walks on with no reaction.
Yeah, and then like one by one, he takes the two out of you and takes the pictures too. Like it, and in the end, one together. How does your expression look on the picture? I'm going from left to right. So we start with Helen.
I think just kind of like a closed lips smile, just kind of a very like professional set expression.
Mm-hmm. And Betty?
Again, I think glamorous, in a fashionable pose.
Yeah, and Pat.
I think that the picture shows that her facial expression was kind of like weird at this moment. Maybe she was like frowning at something. Just like this moment, like she was like ready all the time before and after, but then just this moment she like doesn't look. She like breaks all the cool impression.
Yeah, and I think like probably like after the picture is taken, the photograph like shakes his head. And Violet.
Violet has a bit of a forced smile. She does not want to be glamorized in this way, and because the war makes her actually sad, and you see it in her eyes. She has a bit of a sad smile. But her hair is carefully combed because she checked it before the photo was taken, of course, with a compact mirror, and she always carries a comb.
And I think like the last thing in the scene is that like you see the journalist like walks off and like with his notepad, and it's like with you in the background like shakes his head. It's like female pilot. So what's the next? And we cut the scene there. So there's 2 more scenes, and then we'll have a short break. So the next one is with Pat and Betty. And you are flying a small plane, a maneuverable 2-seat fighter, for the first time. The only thing the instructor has told you is to take the plane up and show him what they can do with it. You're going to have to decide who is going to fly first pilot. And then we'll play that, and then I'll cut, and we'll do like the flying. From wherever you want. You don't have to do the takeoff if you don't want to. You can do start whenever. So you're in the hangar, and you see like this silvery new plane in front of you with like the inscription of the U.S. Air Force. The instructor is like has just walked up to the control tower. What do you do?
Yeah, I guess like Patricia takes a moment to just like, because this is like a fighter jet, like not fighter jet, like a fighter plane, more like. Yeah, I think she just like walks by the wings and just like checks if everything's working correctly, and maybe then she's a little bit dirty. She will like clean her hands, and then just like saying that Betty came. She says like, you were flying the big one last time, so this time I'm piloting this one.
Oh, Pat, with your big feet, you will just get caught in the pedals, and we will explode. Let me fly.
With your tiny little feet, you will not even reach the pedals. So this plane needs a woman to handle this, like a real woman.
Are you a real woman?
Of course. Strength and motivation. And good looks.
So Betty walks around Pat and like as expecting her. I don't know, Pat. I think if the condition is a real woman flies this plane, I think there's no question who does it.
Oh, thank you for agreeing with me. And she like goes to the like ladder up and starts like very clumsily like climbing it one step at a time, and making sure that she doesn't fall off from the stairs up.
And Betty takes the co-pilot seat.
Yeah, and we cut and we go to when you're in the air. How are you showing off what you can do, Pat?
Yeah, I think because Patricia really want to like I'm looking for the word, impress Betty, and shows that she's also capable of pilot, and because she feels like a very enabling the air, I do like a low flying over the forest, turning left, right, left, right, left, right, up, down, just like trying to, just as if this is like avoiding some fire, because big planes are not so responsive, and this is like a small one, so you can like, phew, phew, phew. Yeah, it's probably like such a fast maneuvering. It's probably a little bit dizzy to the head or something.
Mm-hmm. How does this look from your point of view, Betty?
Astonishing, to be honest. Like it does look as if Pat knows what she's doing. It looks, rather elegant. And you see, if the question is, what do I feel? It's probably a bit admiration that she can fly that well, and also she feels a little bit ashamed for teasing her before.
And I don't think we got how you were feeling, Pat, did we?
Me, my feelings?
How Patricia was feeling in that moment when she was.
Yeah, I think she feels like really amazing in this moment, in this like a small plane, especially that Betty do not snap some comments about how she flies. She feels like really good with herself in this moment, and then comes the moment when she feels like maybe she's like taking too much space over here, so she just like shouts to Betty over the engine roar, "Come on, Betty, take the steering wheel."
Yeah. So how does it? So for the next, that means that Betty will have the control for the
Yes.
for the next segment.
Yeah.
What do you do, Betty?
Yeah, I'm trying to impress Pat doing the same maneuvers that she did. So I don't know what Pat exactly did, but trying to mimic her style, and turning sideways to her and with a wink. And is that up to your standards? Shouting over the motor.
Yeah, you're doing excellent.
How do you feel, Betty?
I think, yeah, first of all, for the first time, she feels a bit of camaraderie towards Pat that was always a bit like an odd duck to her. And also proud that, that she can match Pat's skills.
Mm-hmm. And how does this maneuvering look to you, Pat?
Yeah, she wasn't very certain at the beginning if she can pull off such aggressive maneuvers, and she also felt a little bit bad about how she treated Betty on the ground, even though she thought that at the time maybe she deserved it because she had us clean this showers 2 months back. But then she felt like, oh, maybe I should like let her fly this as well, and then there was like this feeling of the connection that we both are good pilots. So she's feeling good about letting the Betty steer the plane as well.
Mm-hmm. And is the maneuvering really good, or are you just saying it?
Yeah, but yeah, Betty's really good with this.
Cool. I think we'll cut the scene there, and I think you hear over the radio is like, well, you're definitely not cows, I'll say that. And you hear like, I think you see like as you come back, you see like Sergeant Williams is like standing in the on the ground, like clapping as you go out of the plane.
I think that Helen, when he says that without the without saying it over the speakers, well, he is still a pig, though.
Yeah, he is. But you're a good girl, Betty. Maybe if you sometimes come down from your pedestal to our, it will be. You can be a good person too.
Yeah, I think we cut there. Cool. So, let's see. The last scene of the first act is you're all there. You're at a bar. You've been seeing a movie about the war. You've seen the people marching on the silver screen. Thousands of Germans. They extend their right arms in salute to the balcony where a small man with a mustache stands. They cheer manically. Some of them even cry, and they appear exuberantly happy. While Adolf Hitler addresses them in a passionate speech. The W.A.S.P. do not understand what he's saying. It is in German, but the scene on the screen ends. The voiceover tells them about the brave Americans who's just been shipped out towards England. The camera pans across a large ship with hundreds of soldiers waving. While the ship leaves the harbor, the crowd of onlookers come into view. There are big smiles and tears of joy as both parties wave goodbye to each other. It's December 1943. The W.A.S.P. has been in Sweetwater for almost 4 months. It's your night off, and you have been at the movies. The four of you are now sharing a table and talk about the war. Yeah, play out a scene where you get to talk about your opinions about the war. Is it good, bad, or just necessary? You can. Who's the? Yeah, we can start there.
Helen, you said that your husband is fighting in Europe.
Yes.
Have you heard any news from him?
No, not yet. I've been waiting for letters, but none have come.
My dad's there as well.
My husband and I heard that a few of my cousins have gone as well.
Violet, do you have anyone from your family in Europe?
Not from my family, actually. My best friend Jeremy has gone to war. I'm not sure what's happened to him. He hasn't written yet. I'm really not. I don't think he should have gone.
Well, why not?
And I've seen this. This is so dangerous. And how can he leave? I've probably never seen him again.
But regardless, there's I pray to God that all of our friends and family will return home safely, but they have done the greatest honor for our country and for the world to go fight in this war, and should their sacrifices will be honored.
I'm sure he sees it the same way, but still, it makes me so sad. He was the only friend who really understood me, and I don't know what to do if he doesn't return. Don't you feel the same way about your husband? What would you do if he didn't come back?
I would be devastated if my husband didn't come back, but I know that he is gone for a purpose.
An evil purpose. Evil but necessary, I suppose.
Valid, but look at this from this side. We get to fly big planes and show men that we can also do their job. Isn't this like good for all women?
We should think of our country before ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Violet is thinking that Pat shouldn't really try to improve her career through the war, but she doesn't say anything.
Yeah, and I
Just
think
looks
like
down.
on this awkward silence, I think we cut the scene.
Yes.
Cool. So that was Act 1. Do any of you need like a break? Yeah, we'll have a 5-minute break then.
Okay.
We'll be back at 18.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So we're all back. How are you feeling so far? Are you all okay?
Yes.
Good, good. So we'll now do the interview scene before Act 2. Here is a chance to explore, talk about what the others are feeling about the internal relationships and your expectations on what's coming now that you're done with your training. I think I'm gonna ask Violet first. So, do you feel ready for deployment now that you're done with your training?
I think so. I actually felt well prepared before I came. I still always check everything, so I think it's gonna be all right.
And Helen, are you looking forward to going to your deployment? Helen?
Oh,
Oh.
Helen is gone.
I guess we can continue with the interview phase. It's just not so wait for her to get back. Betty, how do you feel about your fellow pilots?
So my first impression was that these women are like as shallow as all the other women that Betty knows. But she has to say that as shallow as they are, at least they show skills that surprises her.
And Helen, are you looking forward to getting deployed?
Yes. I don't show it, but I'm kind of secretly really excited to go.
And Pat, what do you most look forward to getting out of Sweetwater?
I think Pat really looks forward to being in the air where she feels agile and not clumsy, and that's the feeling she like really yearns to feel again and constantly.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone who has any questions for the other characters?
I don't think so.
No? No? Okay. Then we go to Act 2. So the W.A.S.P has undergone their 4-month training. You have flown an array of planes, received navigation training, learned aviation strategy, emergency landings, and much more. You have gone to a base in Arizona now where the Army has sent them for an undisclosed amount of time. You are the only W.A.S.Ps at the base. On the war front, the US is still mainly recruiting, and so far there's no signs of when they will deploy troops into combat on a massive scale. The theme of this act is to coming together and the pressure from the outside. This is the act where you are trying to play toward a change, culminating in all of you giving you over to the group and your shared friendship. You can also set a scene if you feel like you'll have opportunity to do this in the regular acts. But if you feel like you need an extra scene for it, just say it in chat, and we'll do a scene. So the first scene, you're all there. It's at the base in Arizona in Colonel Clark's office. It's January 1944. The W.A.S.P arrive at the base in Arizona. It looks like Sweetwater, but here there are no catcalls or shouts. Only the four of you surrounded by a bunch of busy soldiers. The commander is Colonel Clark, and the W.A.S.Ps are in his office for a briefing. So I think you're probably all like standing in a straight line in front of his desk, and he says, "At ease. So, ladies, I just wanted to assure that we all have a mutual understanding of how this is going to work. You're here because there's war, and you're nothing else than civilians while you're being here, even if you fly planes. Remember that. I don't want any trouble, and if there's any complaints about you, I will send you home. Don't think for a second that I won't. You are expected to follow orders at all times and act appropriately. In no way are you to turn heads of the men around. They are busy with important things, and we're not going to treat you in any preferential way. I don't want any women problems disturbing our work at this space, okay?" And then he like puts 4 contracts on his desk. So this is non-disclosure agreement. When you sign this, you relinquish any right to any claims against the U.S. Army if anything happens to you. If you're going to go into deployment, you need to sign this. And he like looks to you to go and sign it. Who's the first one who does something?
Helen is the first one to just like step up and sign
it. I think Violet is second.
Yeah, I think Patricia like steps up and tries to like read it through, but then she sees that the other two just sign it without reading. She just like leaves, signs it and like steps away.
Yeah, and I think the colonel like looks at Betty and like with like I think it has not been a lot of time, but he looks at you and like nods to the contract. What do you do?
Betty takes the pen in her hand and looks at him and says, "Is that the same agreement that the men have to sign?"
The men are soldiers in the U.S. Army, not civilians like you. So no.
And she exhales and signs.
Yeah, and we cut the scene there. So in the second scene, it's everyone is there, but the scene is focused around Helen and Pat. It's the morning after you have signed your contracts. Pat and Helen are in the mess hall having your breakfast together with all the other soldiers. A couple of soldiers come running into the mess hall, having stolen a pair of Pat's underwear. One of them tries to put this on his head, and you hear like the whole mess hall getting the attention of the whole mess hall, and you hear like the massive laughter of the soldiers there. How do you react to this, Pat?
Yeah, I think that Patricia's like really embarrassed by this, and she just like stands up and like leaves the and goes toward the exit. She's like really embarrassed by all of this.
I think Helen kind of gets up and like puts a hand on her shoulder and says like, "I know it's hard, but you can't let them get to you." like a lady must have a will of steel. And it's just try and like makes her feel better. Like don't react to them. Like don't show them that it bothers you.
Yeah, and like Pat like sits down and like, but she doesn't like go into eating. Her like all the appetite is gone, but she just like sits there awkwardly.
Yeah, and I think suddenly like the pair of panties like come flying and lands on your food, and you hear like the last roar of laughter. Yeah.
So Helen just picks them up, like kind of shakes them out, and just like folds them neatly and puts them next to the table next to them, and kind of like gestures to Pat to like just keep eating.
Yeah, and I think like the people like they lose interest after that, and we cut the scene there.
Cool.
So in the next scene, it's Helen and Violet. It's in February 1944, and the base has received a bomber that all the pilots are to be trained in using. The plane has not been thoroughly tested, and the factory has rushed it out of the assembly line. Therefore, the male pilots have gone on a strike and refuses to fly the plane because they think it's too dangerous. Betty and Violet have therefore received orders to take the plane up to show that it's safe to fly. You're standing on the runway with the plane. You have to decide who's the pilot and who's the co-pilot. What do you do?
So it's Helen and Violet, or Violet and Betty?
Betty and Violet. Oh wait, it's what? That's weird. It says two different things. Okay, I'm gonna say Betty and Violet then. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, Betty, you really think you should fly this?
Well, I think that I'm the most qualified.
You're also the most reckless.
Yeah, I'm reckless, but I'm not stupid. That plane is not even tested properly. I'm not going to fly loopings.
All right. All right. You do it.
Yeah, and I think as you like go on the runway, you see like this. There's this group of soldiers that like standing, watching you, pointing at the plane. So how does it take off?
I think while Betty is walking towards the plane, she blows them an air kiss and shouts, she shouts, shit, what's the word? Who's craven now? And climbs into the plane. And it, I think, unlike her, she follows all the protocols and tries to lift off as safe as possible.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
Nervous. I mean, that plane doesn't seem tested properly, but also with a hint of pride that she's doing something that the men refused.
And how does the takeoff look to you, Violet?
It looks surprisingly smooth and almost boring. I think I'm kind of impressed by Betty that she'd be so careful.
How do you feel?
Well, I'm a bit scared actually, because this thing hasn't been tested, and now we're the dummies in the sense of the word, who need to crash test this thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit. I feel a bit better once I've seen how Betty handles the thing, and a bit more confident now and calm as time goes on.
And as you take it up to the air, Betty, what do you do?
Yeah, I think she practices actual bombing runs. So, trying to fly as high as possible and then reducing speed, but still following, obviously, protocol.
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling?
Definitely, in the beginning she was anxious and afraid, but now that has all left her, and now she's actually afraid of the whole experiment turning into just another routine, and these exhilarating moments where you do something that you haven't done before fills her with I don't know, like suspense, or the pleasure of doing something new and fresh.
Mm-hmm. And how does this simulated bombing run feel to you, Violet?
Well, I was expecting that we would only do civilian things like moving planes and stuff, and I'm a little angry actually, because this is a bit too close to war for me, and I'm a bit panicked actually, because this is like war, and I can't really handle that. I think of Jeremy in Europe, and I kind of try to find a way to get out of this. Try to calm down by checking all the instruments twice.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do next, Betty?
So I think Betty, I don't know, like simulates a diving bombing run. So reducing height, and now her reckless side comes a bit more to the front, I guess. Taking the plane to its limits.
And how does this look from your point of view, Violet?
Now she's getting reckless again. I'm a bit angry in how it looks objectively. Well, it does look like she's trying to be a little adventurous, and like she's bored.
How close to the ground does she come before turning up again?
I mean, it's a bomber, so I don't think that you can do like really crazy things unless you want to crash. But it's definitely it's a bit too close to be 100% safe.
And how does that make you feel, Violet?
At first, I'm a bit scared, but then I noticed that I am kind of exhilarated by this adventurous turn. I smile and look approvingly on Betty, and take a deep breath, and it's almost like people look when they smoke a cigarette and they take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool.
And Betty says, "We're some guinea pigs, huh? But happy guinea pigs."
I'm not happy. I don't know how you think that. This is war we're practicing. Can't be happy about that. And
Yeah.
she quickly tries to hide her smile.
I think we cut there. Cool. So the next is mostly about Helen, but everyone is there. It's March 1944. Ira is on leave before shipping out. So that's your husband, I presume. Ira. Helen, right?
Helen's husband.
Yeah. He has gone to Arizona to visit his wife. He has invited Helen out for dinner, and she has asked the other wasp to come along. Ira is in a bad mood and does not talk much. When he speaks, he is a bit nagging. And she does everything wrong. She talks too loud, interrupts him, or does not give him enough attention. And I think like he's like gone to the restroom for a bit, and you sit at the table with the food. What do you do?
I'm a bit lost where we are and who this Ira is.
It's the husband of Elena at the restaurant. He's invited you out for dinner.
Okay.
Is there any more questions?
So everybody's there, right?
Yes.
I apologize for Martin's behavior. He's, just the stress of the war must have made him a little bit short.
You need some time alone with your husband?
No, I think it's all right. I'd rather you stay. Come, let's have dessert. What should we get?
Oh, strawberry pudding.
I think we cut the scene there, actually. Cool, perfect. So for the next scene, it's Pat and Helen. You are at the hangar. It's April 1944, and new soldiers have arrived at the base with them anti-aircraft guns. They are to receive training in anti-aircraft barrage, and the wasps are to act as targets. They are to attach a target to the end of their plane, and the soldiers will use it for target practice with live ammunition. Pat and Helen have been tasked with taking the plane up and letting the untrained soldiers shoot at the target. First, let the characters decide who flies first pilot.
Oh my god, Helen, we can't do it. It's madness.
I know, Pat, but we were brought here to serve the army. It's our duty.
We have to transport cargo and people, not be like live targets.
It makes me scared too, Pat, but, we must do what we have to win the war.
You want to steer and I'll be on the lookout, or
I'll fly the plane if it makes you more comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you take off and you're in the air. What happens?
So Helen's flying style is just like very like controlled and steady. So I'm flying kind of at like not too fast, not too slow at the start. I don't know if they wanted us to like fly with certain maneuvers for the training.
I don't think they have any specific, except like they were going to shoot at the target, so fly over probably.
Yeah, so I kind of turn to Pat and say, we'll just go with the basics first. Although it would make it harder for them to hit us if we did some flips. What do you think?
Do you, Helen, feel like doing some flips in the air? I thought you are always about this finding the straight line. But yeah, I will like buckle in. Wait, I need to release this target, and I just like probably go to the back, like release something, this like target, and then I like give it like an extra 100 meters of rope probably than expected, and then I go back and like buckle in. Yeah, girl, give them some flips.
So I like speed up, and you know, even when I'm doing like kind of crazy maneuvers, it's like very controlled, and so we can kind of see like where the guns are set up, and so I make sure to like still stay in the area, but I'm kind of doing like banking turns, and like I flip us over at one point.
And how does that look from Pat's point of view?
I think it shows that she's like totally scared out of her. She's like totally panicking because the shells start to like explode outside. Maybe like few of them explode like a little bit too close. Maybe like one like few hundred meters in front of us, and there's like this puff of smoke, and Pat is like flying with like her heart in her throat. So she's like.
I'm just like, don't worry, dear, we'll be fine.
Yeah, and how do you actually feel about this, Helen?
So I think I'm a little bit scared, but at the same time, I'm kind of determined to like fulfill our duties. But like, you know, she's kind of made this decision that we're gonna do it a little crazy to decrease their chances of hitting us, because we're so good at because we're good at flying and we can do this. And so I'm just kind of enjoying the freedom to like do these different maneuvers, because you know later we can tell them, oh, we were trying to like make ourselves a good, like, because they can rationalize it to like the leaders later. And so while being cautious, she's still like enjoying the feeling of being able to like go fast and like do all these different moves.
Mm-hmm. What is the next thing you do?
So I think I do I kind of dive a little bit so that we're approaching like where they're shooting the guns from, and so like it's kind of like we get sort of close to them before we like kind of like pull up sharply to kind of scare them a little bit, scare the soldiers on the ground.
How does this look from your point of view, Pat?
Yeah, I think that there's only person can be scared for only so long time. So it looks to me that I'm actually like calm down, even though the shells are exploding all everywhere, and I'm just like looking at them and just like cheering. Yeah, go left. Oh my God, yeah, they are turning the gun. They're in that direction. Yeah, now go right. And like looking out through the like binoculars and just like shouting what they show, how they are like ungreat, how the soldiers are like clumsy with the guns.
Yeah.
So like the fear is past. Now it's like the rush of adrenaline moment.
I think so. So Helen is smiling, and I think it's probably the first time Pat has seen Helen smile like a real smile and not something that's just like, you know, you're smiling because you're supposed to.
How does it feel? How does it feel, Helen, to be like live target?
Well, I think we're making the most of it.
Yeah, and I think we got there. Perfect. So we're now at the end of Act 2. So that's going to be caught up with our time deficiency. We'll do a last interview scene, and then we'll have a small break again. So for the last act, the focus of the interview scene should be to talk about the experiences you had, about the different flights, and about how people on the base treated you, or about the war if you want to do. I think I'm gonna ask Betty actually, like how do you feel about being a woman in a military base?
Well, as a woman at the base, unfortunately, it's more of the same. The same that she is used to at home. So she's like the men are obviously. I mean, you said that there are no catcalls, but I assume that because of her beauty, she's still primarily viewed as someone beautiful and not someone skilled. But then the flying part of things is definitely, I mean, being live targets and testing out planes that haven't been tested before is something she really enjoys.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, Helen, how do you feel about being used as a guinea pig for things that are totally unsafe?
So I think some of the other women kind of show their like displeasure with it much more like outwardly. Like Pat was like completely against it, and I think Violet and Betty both expressed how they were uncomfortable with it. And I think Helen is just as uncomfortable with it and even like angry, but she kind of keeps this all on the inside. Like, I mean, I think the other women kind of get I think they understand that Helen is annoyed and angry with it, but she keeps this very much inside and kind of tries to like keep them motivated by saying like, we're doing this for the country, and so they can like shoot. We have to help them so that they can like effectively shoot down German planes, and so she's just trying to like kind of keep everybody going.
How is she actually feeling about it, though?
No, she's very angry about it. She's just keeping it on the inside.
Yeah, good, thanks. And Pat, how do you feel about it?
Pat's feelings are like very mixed because this was not what was promised. They are being mistreated and by a man over here and by the commanders. And yeah, but once we get to the air, it's like all these bad feelings are like washed away. But we land and they're like, oh my god, we were just another live target. And so it's like a emotional mix, ups and downs.
And Violet, how do you feel about your co-pilots now?
Well, I feel like I understand Betty a little better, or maybe Betty has changed so much into less of a reckless person. At least sometimes that I can cope with it. I still think Helen is a bit too patriotic, but I notice that she's also angry, and it pleases me a little. that she does show her anger sometimes, even if it's only a little. And Patricia, well, I'm glad that she's Well, I'm glad that she's not thinking of her career as much. She has finally seen that the war is terrible, and that what has been done to us is not right, and I think we finally connect on that level a little.
And how do you feel that you have changed?
Well, on the ground, I always when I felt out of control, I had ways to mitigate that with putting everything in place and checking everything several times. But the things that aren't under our control have grown so much bigger that I'm not sure how long I can cope with it. I'm always on the verge of being very angry, and I don't want to show it. I'm trying not to explode.
How do you view Violet Helen?
Sorry.
So,
Helen. Okay.
yeah, it's how Helen views Violet.
Uh-huh.
So, I can definitely tell that Violet was uncomfortable from the beginning, kind of doing the things we were kind of told to do, and I feel like very like concerned about her because I can tell that she was very angry with like being used as like target practice, and she doesn't really want to be in the war. And I just try to like keep encouraging her to like stay positive, to keep going, because I think she just needs some guidance. And while I can sometimes kind of be frustrated with her like particular or unpredictable behavior, I still try to help her as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna open up for questions from the rest of the table if anyone has any for the other characters.
I have a question for Helen. Is she still like? How does she think about going back to being a housewife?
So Helen has definitely like, you know, tasted the forbidden fruit of like kind of being more independent than she used to be. Because she sort of went from, you know, like a teenager who like had dreams of doing things, but then got married and kind of became like, I think she was kind of described as the monster of marriage. So she's very much like into like the expectations of what being a lady and a wife is about. So those are very important to her, but it was kind of things that she adapted to. So now that she's kind of gotten a feel of like what it's like to be a little more independent, she kind of in her mind she like knows she has to go back to being a wife after the war is over, but she doesn't, like she's starting to not want to go back.
Any other questions? No. Okay. We'll I think we'll have like a small break. Let's say we'll be back in 5 minutes. So 3 over whatever time it is where you are. So what are you thinking so far?
I was looking for unmute. It's weird.
Definitely different.
Yeah, I think that's the nicer word than weird. So.
Yeah, it's definitely something different from like the very free-form story games I usually run, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is like real feelings game.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very like trademark of like the festival games, that they are very feel heavy. It's like in the crossed with the Nordic LARP tradition a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's very. They made LARPs about pretty much anything. Yeah. I'll if you're curious about it, I'll definitely like point you in directions to where to find interesting stuff. But yeah, we should also try to finish our game first before we start talking about other things. That's the efficiency director that I am. So we are at the start of Act 3. The W.A.S.P have spent 6 months in Arizona. You have tested different planes, flown cargo across country, trained anti-aircraft crews, and you now have received orders to fly a mission to England. On the war front, the allies are pushing further into France, but casualties remain high and lines of communication are spread out too thin. No one knows if it's even possible to beat the enemy. So this is after D-Day. This act is supposed to show the horrors of war and the most vulnerable situation, and very much like push under the fact that you're not military personnel but civilians. So with that in mind, we'll start with the first scene. Is there any like questions or concerns or anything that you want to say before we start? Good. You all okay? Good. So the first scene is with Betty and Helen. It's September 1944, and your mission is to transport wounded soldiers back from England. First, you have to establish who is flying and who is second pilot. You're at like the base in England, and it's a pretty like big plane loaded with wounded soldiers. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, Betty turns to Helen and says, I think you should fly. You have the steadier hands.
Okay, I will.
Okay, so you fly the plane, and behind you is Violet and Pat in the second plane. You have flown for 15 hours and are almost at your destination. When you contact the tower to get your landing permission, we cut it when you do that. Who is contacting them?
I think maybe Betty, since she's the second pilot.
Yeah, they say like, this is base, come in. What do you say?
Yeah, this is flight number, and we are transporting wounded soldiers, asking for permission to land.
Really, I don't think so. we are not. You know, it's very dangerous joking with radios.
This is not a joke. We have actually injured soldier. Do your patriotic duty, man.
What are you talking about? We know there's no female pilots. How can you come here and say that patriotic duty? You should go home and wash the dishes of your husband or something, not joke around with serious matters such as this.
Well, we are coming in 5 minutes. You better prepare a landing strip, or we land the plane regardless.
Landing strip. There's no landing strip cleared here, but either way, like we're not getting back in contact.
Can I have your grade and name, because I will drag your sorry ass in front of a court, a war court.
My name is and I think like you hear him. I think you hear him like actually like he's holding like his radio thing on, and he's like asking, is there any female pilots? Are we having any scheduled landings here? This seems a little strange. And he says, my name is Private Huckabee.
Private, how long have you been in the army?
What does that have to do with it?
Because somebody who's so fucking clueless as to not knowing that we are part of W.A.S.P can only be, you know, like 3 days in the army. And you don't know the dire consequences if we can't get permission to land.
And I think like you hear his voice like crack up a little bit. He's like, oh, sorry, we have a landing strip ready for you in 5 minutes. Over
and out.
Well, that takes care of that. We were gonna land whether they said yes or not, so better that they have a landing strip than have to land in the field. Can you tell the doctors down below we're about to land to brace everyone?
Yeah, and Betty goes on and informs them to have the the ambulance ready and everything.
Mm-hmm. And how do you land?
Since they have prepared the landing strip, I try to come in as smoothly as possible. I think there's unfortunately there's a few bumps, but it's mostly smooth.
Mm-hmm. How does this look from Betty's perspective? You're muted.
Betty looks at Helen, and I think she sees her like super focused and concentrated face, and it is actually smooth, given that it's really windy and it's probably like this heavy transport planes that we are maybe not that used to.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel
about the landing?
Yeah, well, when you're landing.
I think probably tired. I mean, 15 hours is a long time. Angry because it took so long to actually get the permission. And a little bit of glee that she could commanded a male member of the army.
Mm-hmm. How does Helen feel as she landed?
I think she feels relieved that the flight is over, and also that she's relieved that Betty was able to get a landing strip cleared, and also proud that they kind of made the trip kind of mostly painlessly.
Mm-hmm. Next scene, you're all there, but the focus is on Violet. You are in an old hangar converted into a hospital somewhere in England. You have all landed in England and are standing in front of a large hall. There is hectic activity surrounding the entrance. People carry stretchers in and out. Exhausted nurses and doctors drag themselves through the hall called to their shift. One of the nurses who flew to England with them joins them. She gives the W.A.S.P cigarettes and chocolate to distribute among the wounded. Inside, the soldiers lie shoulder to shoulder. White cloths hang on the wall to dampen the sounds. The hangar smells of disinfectant and old blood. Some soldiers talk among themselves and play cards, others lie still. The ones talking try to drown out the ones moaning. When they enter, Violet realizes that her friend Jeremy lies in one of the beds. His body is in traction in a large metal aggregate, and his many bandages are bloody. What do you do?
At first, I think it can't be him. No, it's not possible. But then she realizes it must be, and she goes over gingerly and says, "Jeremy, can you hear me?"
I think like he turns to you very slowly and looks up at you with like a blank stare.
Oh no, what happened? Oh, don't tell me. I knew this would happen. Why did you go into this terrible war? Oh, Jeremy.
And I think like he seems very pale, and he does like he used some time to react to what you're saying, but then he says, "Who are you? Excuse me."
It's me, Violet. And I take a cloth, it's a moist cloth, I guess, and dab his brow. Don't you recognize me? What happened to you?
He looks quite like confused and a little bit like stressed out, like almost like he feels like he should remember something. But he and then there's a nurse coming over to you and it's like, you better leave them alone. They're heavily wounded. They have to have rest.
I was supposed to give them cigarettes and chocolate. Can we have chocolate?
And I think like he smiles and like, oh yeah, please give me some chocolate. I haven't had any for months.
Okay, I put the chocolate down on the stretcher.
Yeah, and I think we cut the scene there. The next scene is you're all there. You're in a pub near the airbase. You've gone there to the local pub after visiting the wounded. You sit in a corner, just the four of you. What are you talking about? The war, the wounded. Do you not want to talk about the day's experiences? Question mark. You can go now.
I think we should talk about something else. I think it's too painful to talk about what we saw.
Probably. Yes.
So, I guess Helen starts like, when I was a girl, I used to dream about flying a plane all the way to Paris and becoming an artist or a musician and painting and sitting in one of those big auditoriums and playing the piano in front of everyone.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, wonderful. It's not so far to Paris. from here.
Oh, we're pretty close to Paris. I could almost imagine being there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always wanted to fly just to fly because in the air the plane is so agile and I can I can feel the air through my hair and it just this feeling of freedom that yeah, it's still thrilling to me to just lift off from the airstrip and fly and then go down.
Do you sometimes wish that the war just doesn't end and we can fly?
I thought about
No.
this maybe before we got here. I thought about this, but now that we have seen what we have seen, I wish it would end rather sooner than later.
I hope that once the war ends, they'll let women fly again freely. I know it's not what a lady or a wife should be doing, but it's like being a giant eagle soaring on the wind.
Well put. I don't think we will. I mean, I will fly my private plane, obviously, but the big ones, I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, it hasn't been the way before the war. When the men will return, they will, they will just return to their jobs, and we will return to ours.
I'm not sure how many men will return, actually. Have you seen how many we've lost? I've seen Jeremy. He doesn't look good.
What happened to him? Oh, sorry.
I don't actually know. He's not talking.
I think, like as you say,
They
that
never talk.
there's this drunk man that comes over to you. Like you can smell his the alcohol of his breath, and he's like, "Oh, ladies, I saw you I've seen you at the base. Pleasure to meet you, Sergeant Edwards."
Nice to meet you, Sergeant Edwards. But whenever this happens, Helen still like wears her like engagement and wedding ring to like make sure people know that she's married. So she always like makes sure that the guys can see it when they come over to try and like prevent these situations from happening.
Yeah, and I think like actually like he notices and like scuffs a little at that, and it's like cigarettes, and then like puts his hand up and like, "Barkeep, around for these lovely ladies." So, having a nice evening.
Wait, I have a question. Where are we right now? Are we in England or in the US?
England.
Okay.
It's American officer though.
I mean, sergeant is not that of a high rank, is it?
No, it's the lowest. He's not an officer. He's the highest, like low rank.
Yeah, I mean, Betty probably just looks away and tries to have a conversation with, let's see, with Violet.
Okay. Violet said, "Wait a minute, Betty. Excuse me. Actually, Mr. We're not having a great day. We're having a terrible day. In case you haven't noticed, I had thousands of wounded soldiers outside, and you seem to be happy about it. I don't." And she stomps away and puts her glass down so hard that it spills over.
Yeah, and I think he just like
Rushes out.
looks over to you and it's like, There's no need to be so unfriendly. You should be. I thought women liked men in uniform, and they like looks over to the barkeep, like trying to see if the drinks are coming soon.
So Helen kind of looks at him and goes like, "So, your wife must be missing you very much. Have you had a chance to get any letters from her?"
And I think he like, wife. She's probably so happy that I'm here. Ugh. And then like looks over to you, and I think like you see a little like a glimpse of like I don't know. Why would you be so to bring up my wife? That's the and he like, I was having such a good evening. And he like, it gets the drink and it's like, so, and I think he leans over to Betty and is like, so you want a drink?
Yeah, let's drink to your wife. What's her name? And she takes the glass.
And I think like he's like slams his head down in the table. Like, I said, stop talking about my wife.
Well, but that we are not in the army, so you can't tell us anything, Sergeant.
I think he like, I think he takes his hand and like takes all the glasses and like pushes them off the table, and it's like, you better be know your place, woman.
So Helen kind of stands up and using like her very like authoritative voice, she's like, "Sir, I must ask you to leave us alone. Such an impolite and ungentlemanly man is not welcome in our presence." And she's like waving to like she's trying to make a scene so that like other men will notice and like try and like drag him away.
Yeah, and I think actually like that's not really what happens, but what happens is that like there's a glass that comes flying and hits the back of his head, and like the beer like splashes all over you, and I think we cut the scene there.
Okay.
So the next scene, you're also all there, but the focus is on Violet. You're on your way home from the pub. It's dark and you walk by yourself. You can sense that someone is following you. It is Sergeant Edwards, who you met earlier in the evening. And he has like,
one?
Yeah, who's apparently fine. He grabs a hold of Violet and begs you to smuggle him home. And I think like he holds your arm and it's like, you don't understand. Like, I know that you must be angry with me, but I've seen some things. I just need to.
Yeah. What are you trying to say? What?
Can you
What do you want
please
from me?
smuggle me home into if my colonel would discover this, I would be so screwed.
Discover what?
That I'm super drunk. I'm going to fly a plane tomorrow.
You're going to fly a plane like this?
Not like this. Tomorrow, I'll be fine tomorrow.
You should be ashamed of yourself, putting people in danger with your reckless behavior.
And I think
Really?
he you see almost like his eyes are pretty like watery already from all the alcohol, but he looks. I think you see like he almost like makes like a small gasp to catch a breath, and it's like, I am, but you don't understand. Like when you're just a few weeks ago, I was walking over dead bodies of my friends.
I understand, but you cannot fly like this.
I mean, I'll be fine.
What?
I mean,
What?
maybe I'll go see a doctor tomorrow or something. I don't know. But just get me home so I don't have to.
I'm not trying to make a scene, so I guess I'm helping him.
Mm-hmm. How do you hide him going through the gates? How do you distract the guards?
That's well, it's dark, I guess, and I'm not sure. I think I'll tell him.
Are the other ones in on this, by the way?
Yeah, I think Pat is like into getting the soldier back into his bunk. Not really sure about whether he should fire or not. So yeah, but Pat is also not the one to go and chat up the guards.
That should be Betty. I think Betty, I don't always approve of your methods, but I think this time you should be the one to speak to the guards and distract them.
All right then. And yeah, Betty, I think the plan is Betty goes to the guards, checks them up, while the girls sneak in.
Yeah, and I think we cut the scene while you see like they sneaking Sergeant Edwards into the base.
Mm-hmm.
So for the next scene, you are. It's a day. You're all there. You're in the morgue. It's a day where you're leaving England. While the nurse helps the wounded on board, you have been taken to the morgue. The doctor in charge there, Dr. Crawford, awaits you. Around you lies dead bodies of soldiers. There's a sickening sweet smell in the room. The doctor needs help identifying a dead wasp. Her plane crashed as she was transporting it to England. And yeah, I think like he takes like up the I don't know if it's even like covered because there's lack of materials. So she's just lying on like a trolley or something, and you don't know her, but she has the wasp symbol on her. What do you do?
Yes, she was one of ours, a brave woman who flew over the supplies and everything, but I'm not sure we knew her name. She was at the other base.
And of course, you also know that because she's in the WASP and not a part of the U.S. Army, they won't bring her home with them because the Army won't pay for it. And the doctor like makes you aware of that. But so we won't keep the body, but but you can confirm it's a wasp.
Yes, you see this the symbol is the same like we are wearing.
But what do you mean you're not keeping the body?
The family can't afford to ship her remains home. So and the Army won't pay for it, so we'll have to destruct the body here.
You can't. This woman served our country, and she deserves more respect than just being thrown away in a foreign place.
I think like he like shrugs his shoulders and say, I don't disagree with you, but there's not really anything I can do.
But
What if we
we will
don't identify her?
But are we going to be loading other dead bodies on the planes we are flying today?
Yeah.
We can just take her
maybe.
among the others.
I mean, I can't. We can't use space on the planes for that. There's wounded, and I think like he says there's a few some officers that died, but the most bodies they just get shipped in caskets with ship, or their ashes possibly.
Can you like burn her and give us the urn?
We could take her ashes home.
Yes, we should.
I think he like breathes heavily and says, I guess I could do that. You know, let me I'll meet you at the plains in before you leave. Now I'll see to that her ashes is sent with you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
And I think
she's not Catholic.
Yeah, and I think he like turns around and like now you should get back to your planes. They need help with the loading. And we cut the scene there.
Mm-hmm.
For this next scene, we will be flying home. You're flying wounded soldiers home. It will be Pat and Violet who will be flying. Who's going to be the first pilot?
I think Pat should do it this time.
Yeah, at least for first half of this 15-hour flight.
Probably.
or the last one, depending where we pick off.
We follow Pat and Violet's plane. They've flown for 15 hours and are almost at the destination. You're in the plane, and I think you just like started to come over the US again. So you come from like the sea onto like the first bit of land. What do you talk about while you're flying? This is possibly your last trip.
So,
Pat?
have you tracked your friend? Is he aboard the planes that we are and is he coming home with us?
Yes, he is. I'm actually wondering whether I could go back and see him in a while. I think he's lost a leg and whatever else you can't see. Have you lost anyone in the war? Is anyone in your family in the war? You haven't talked about that much.
My dad and my brother are at war, but I haven't neither seen nor heard from any of them. If they're sent letters, they are probably with mom at the farm, but I haven't been to the farm since I joined, so I don't know if they are well or not.
That's sad. I guess you miss them.
Yeah, it's almost over a year since the last time I've seen them, so that's a long time.
Well, at least I have my friend right here, however bad shape he's in. And he survived. I just hope your family survives.
Oh, thank you.
How does it look as you land?
How does it look? I think it's a night landing. So maybe there are the basic lamps and they're lighting the airstrip, and our plane is coming for touchdown. It's yeah, it goes well, but maybe we like missed the first one because maybe some of the patients, like, I don't know, panicked or something, and we like missed the first approach, and then we had to go up and come the second time, and we like got to try it the second time.
How do you feel as you land?
The first time it had to like pull up at the last moment. So the second time I was like super stressed, and the second time I'm like still stressed, almost like shaking, but it like goes over smoothly, and we land despite the wind and some of the cargo moving in the back in the plane.
How does it look from Violet's perspective?
Well, usually Pat flies very smoothly, and I'm a bit shocked that she just had this little bump, and I think it's probably really getting to her that she's doing that she's flying in such an insecure manner.
How do you feel as you land?
Well, I have mixed feelings. Is this our last job?
I mean, you don't completely know, but you're not going back to. I mean, you're not going back to England, so it's probably maybe.
I feel a little hopeful because I know that Jeremy is not dead, and I can meet him again, and we can probably talk at our destination, and then I have someone to confide in. But also that he may not be the same anymore, and then he's not really recognizing me yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried, but a bit relieved.
As you when you come to a still, they take people come out and try to help the wounded soldiers out, and one of the wounded approaches you, and he goes over to Pat and takes your hand if you allow him to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see his. I think he has he has a bandaged head, and it doesn't look like the best. But he stumbles his way over to you and says, "Thank you for bringing me home."
It was my job to bring you safely home.
Yeah, and I think he takes on his hat, and he salutes you, like.
Yeah, and I think like Pat like salutes back.
And I think we cut the scene there. Okay, so we have 3 more scenes. For the next scene, you're at the base in Arizona, in Colonel Clark's office. It's December 1944. Colonel Clark has summoned. You're all there. Colonel Clark has summoned the W.A.S.P to his office. He just received a telegram from General Arnold's staff. On December 20, 1944, the U.S. Army officially disbands the W.A.S.P Corps, and the W.A.S.P will be sent home. He says, delivers this news, and what do you do? What are you talking about?
Yeah, but Colonel, the war is far from over. We did such a good duty transporting the wounded and supplies over the ocean. You sure you don't need us anymore?
I think he nods and says, you have shown yourselves as worthy contributors to the war effort. I'll give you that, but you're no longer needed. The war is going better, and we don't need your resources anymore. Is there anything else?
I don't. Helen doesn't say anything.
What about Betty?
Yeah, what is there to say? I mean, Betty looks angry, but she's also smart enough that she knows that she can't change anything, and that's probably not even his, decision. It's the chain of command.
Yeah, and I think at this, after this like long silence, he says, "Well, you did a good job. You can go to your barracks and find your things. You'll transport a final plane to Florida, and then you'll be dismissed. Thank you for your service, ladies." And it like hushes you away. And I think we cut the scene there.
Mm-hmm.
So for this last flight, you are flying a B-29, a flying super fortress from a base from the base in Arizona to Florida. It's December 1944, and the super fortress is the largest and the heaviest bomber ever built. During the normal operation, it takes 11 men to operate it, but now there's only the 4 of you to transport it. First, Betty and Pat fly the plane. Who's the first and second pilot?
Betty and Pat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you feel, Betty, about flying the biggest beast there is?
I mean, this is the last chance we ever will have to be in the cockpit like this. I mean, I want to fly.
Yeah, sure. I flew us over the ocean, so why not?
Describe to us as you take the super fortress up. How does it look?
I think it's first and foremost, it's probably the sound that that is impressive. Like just had a look at the machine, the 4 propellers rotating and the engines humming, and it's the slow, like super slow momentum in the beginning, and then as the machine picks up speed, the whole cockpit is filled with the sound of the engines, and then it's almost unbelievable that such a heavy thing can actually fly. And then she takes the plane up.
How do you feel?
Probably I tried to enjoy the moment, but there's probably a mixed feeling, because it's as she said, the last chance ever being able to fly such a thing. But it's also obviously just the joy of maneuvering such a heavy beast.
How does the takeoff look to from Pat's perspective?
Yeah, Pat is like it looks smooth, and it feels empowering. Like looking through this like very glassy cockpit, being able, because usually cockpits are like you just see forward, and here you see down, and you see a lot of forward, and it's like almost like flying, almost like standing in front of a mirror and seeing everything. So she's like, even though she like pays attention to like all the clocks and readings and reports, she's like fascinated with how big this thing is, and also said that this will be like the last flight, at least in the army. Maybe she will get to fly father's plane, but who knows?
In the air, you're all four are in the cockpit. There is you have sat there quietly for a while. Who is the first to speak, and what are you talking about?
I don't know, maybe Betty. I mean, does the plane have like two sticks, flying sticks, whatever they're called?
Yeah, you can fly from both positions. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she turns around and she says, "All right, ladies, who wants to have a go at this beast?"
I think Helen kind of goes up and decides to take a turn flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like as she starts flying, she kind of says, "You know, I never thought I'd be here. I never thought I'd say this, but I don't want to go home."
What if we just fly to Paris?
If only.
It's a joke, ladies. We can't fly to Paris, but thought.
Yeah, it would be nice to see the Paris.
Although
Paris is probably pretty destroyed too
yeah.
by now.
So Betty, do you miss wearing your fancy gowns?
Well, unlike you, I won't fly a crop duster. I will fly a proper plane. Not anywhere like this beauty, but
Why are you
oh,
always so mean, Betty? You know, Pat really tries hard. Why do you keep insulting her?
I'm teasing her. Why are you so soft-skinned? Sometimes tell the truth.
The truth, even if the truth is hurtful.
Especially if the truth is hurtful.
But only if it doesn't hurt you, I guess.
I can cope with pain.
All right, ladies, settle down. Let's enjoy our last journey through the air.
And it's not the last time we see each other. I mean, yeah. I will hopefully have the opportunity to tease Betty, the next time we meet.
I think we cut it there, and we can go to when Violet and Helen lands. Who is the first and second pilot?
Yeah,
I think Violet can be the first pilot now. They all kind of switched.
I think so. I think Violet says, if you don't mind, Helen, I think I'd like to take one last turn. I think it's going to be a while before we can fly again. Probably.
Of course.
Yeah, and as you see the runway coming, how does the landing look?
Is the plane empty?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think Violet checks everything several times, and then she pulls up the stick and does not actually land yet, but does another round of a pretty dangerous maneuver, and makes a probably not like a looping, but she suddenly has a kind of wild expression and pulls up the plane and does all kinds of dangerous things with it, going up and round.
And I think Betty, opens her blouse, removes her bra very quickly, and then hangs it out of the window.
Elizabeth, what are you
I've
doing?
never felt as powerful as this.
And how are you feeling, Violet?
Yeah, I feel very in control. I've had so little control in the last few months and in my life before that, except when I was flying on Sundays. And this is the biggest plane I've ever flown, and I feel so powerful that it's I feel kind of drunk from all the power that I'm controlling with my fingers.
And how does this look from Helen's perspective?
Yeah, I think it's like nostalgic and sad because like as they like land the plane, it's like, the realization that this is like the last time. She kind of looks around at all the other women and like kind of realize, like, just thinking about like how different things are since they joined W.A.S.P.
And how do you land, Violet?
I think I'm what the hell? I'm doing a pretty dangerous landing maneuver too. and I'm laughing actually because I can finally, what are they going to do to me now? I am already out. I'm going too close to the ground and all kinds of.
Yeah, it's like the emergency landing
Grappling.
procedure, like
Yeah.
smack pretty hard into the ground. So how does this look from how are you feeling?
Violet?
Mm-hmm.
Violet feels kind of nostalgic too. She knows this is the end for her. She's not gonna fly in a long time, and she's kind of sad and also feels like she needs to use up every moment of this. But she also feels kind of guilty that she likes it so much because still so many terrible things happen.
And how does this look from Helen's perspective? The landing.
I mean, she kind of, I get a little scared and kind of hold on, but just kind of like, even though it's a rough landing, just kind of relish it and kind of think about all the, like, all the other, like, kind of tough spots they had been in while flying the planes and, like, how they managed to make it work anyway.
Yeah, and how are you feeling? You're just afraid, and then what? Oh, okay. Is that? We can also leave it at that if you want.
Yeah, I was just gonna leave it at that.
Sure. And you land, and this is the last scene. You have just landed. The four of you stand outside the plane. This was your final mission together, and none of you can stand to say goodbye to each other. So instead, you say goodbye to the plane. It's dark, but the floodlights light the runway. The plane throws shadows on the tarmac. You can all say goodbye to the plane, and I'll cut the scene when everyone has done so. Who goes first?
Yeah, I think Betty goes first. She puts her hand on, I don't know, what she can reach from the plane, and caresses it, and just says quietly, nice meeting you, you beautiful beast. And then she turns away and turns around and goes.
Who goes next?
I think we see Patricia climbing from one of the turrets where she was turning the guns, but then she says to the plane, "Well, I hope we will no longer need you because you've done a lot of bad things. So make it stop." And then she also walks, climbs out of the plane very ungracefully and leaves.
Who goes next?
I think Violet climbs out of her seat and checks that everything is all right with the plane. Checks the fuel level, checks it again, and then climbs out and kneels down where the wheels are. And I think she just breaks down and cries. It's just so overwhelming, saying goodbye and never being able to fly for so long, and her friend being in such a terrible state, and what she's seen is it's all just too much for her.
And then I think Helen just kind of stands in front of the plane and looks up at it, like with her hands clasped in front of her, and she doesn't even know what she doesn't know what to say. There's just too many thoughts and feelings, so she just kind of for a few moments looks up at the plane and then walks away.
So for the ending, I will say a short version of the graduating speech that General Arnold did to the W.A.S.P class. General Arnold was the commander of the Air Force during the war. You and more than 900 of your sisters have shown that you can fly wingtip to wingtip with your brothers. If ever there was a doubt in anyone's mind that women can become skillful pilots, the W.A.S.P has dispelled that doubt. I want to stress how valuable I believe this whole W.A.S.P program has been for the country. If another national emergency arises, let us hope it does not. But let us this time face the possibility if it does. We will not again look upon Women's Flying Organization as experimental. We will know that they can handle our fastest fighters, our heaviest bombers. We will know that they are capable of activities which you have been proven you can do. So on this last graduation day, I salute you and all W.A.S.P. We of the AAF are proud of you. We will never forget our debt to you. And that is the end. Thanks for playing We Were W.A.S.P. Are you all okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. If you want, there is in the character package, there's obituaries for all of your characters, which I will send to you afterwards, which you can read if you want to. These all of the characters are based on real women who played who were W.A.S.P. During the war. So I mean, it could be a nice way to like process your experience. I don't know how you feel about it. It's probably gonna, at least for me, playing this kind of thing, it's just nice to like have some time to think about things. Yeah. Are you all okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Actually, I'm wondering whether these women ever got paid for their service.
Yeah, they did in well, they didn't have any of the benefits that the men had for very long. But in 1977, they got the pension that soldiers get. So they got granted that, and also the other benefits with like hospitals and stuff. But they never got paid for the duty. No. So they were acknowledged in the end, but very late. And also, like, it was not until 2010 where they got a congressional gold medal from Obama, and a lot of the people were, of course, already dead by then.
Yeah.
But I think all of these women were alive for that, actually. So yeah, I think do you want to have like 5 minutes and have like a small debrief after, or are you okay?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop the
Sure.
podcast now, and then we can take 5 minutes to just like have a drink, and then we can okay with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool. See you in 5.
Yeah.
Mhm.